I know that this is going to completely blow your mind, but this, what we're about to do right now, counts both as preparation for the study guide, meaning it will help you use the study guide more effectively, and it will also count as round 1 of your lesson 6 notes. It's crazy. All right, so let's start here. When you look at something like this on paper, and even this one also, it looks a little out of control, like you're just looking at that, and I don't even want to try and figure out what any of this does. The way we make this easier is taking it step by step, and actually even you can jot down some ideas about what it does step by step, right? So your testing software will have digital scratch paper, so you can actually do this and type it out, and it ends up being super cool, right? So you have that to refer to. So let's start with this. What is this actually doing here? It's prompting for user input for sure, but what's it doing with it? Yeah, so we're creating 2 lists, right? So that's our first step. Creating 2 lists, other and words, right? What does this do? It's going to prompt for user input, right? And it's going to add that user input, which will hopefully be a word, to our list called words. So it appends words with 5 user input strings. Yes.
Are you going to put this file on Google Docs?
Yes. So this is the key right here. I'm taking all of this code. I have to, my next job besides just going through everything step by step is to break, as much as I can, break large blocks of code down into manageable logical steps, right? I take this for loop and I just kind of nutshell the idea, right? In a nutshell, that's what we're doing with that for loop. Make sense? What's happening here? Can anybody tell me?
Adding words.
Okay. Let's figure out what words though. Where are we starting? So what does that mean exactly? As far as which words are going to get entered into, first word's going to get skipped, right? Because we're starting at position 0. If we start the range at position 1, we're going to skip over position 0. We're going to the length of words, but what's happening here? What does that mean?
Skipping.
We're going up by 2, right? So basically, if we're starting at the second word and we're going up by 2, it looks like we're only going to be operating on every other word, right? And what are we doing? We're appending other with every other word in words. Does that make sense? So that's our next logical step, right? So we can actually and other with every other word in words. So we just broke down all this code into 3 major logical steps, right? So I don't even have to look at this anymore because I already have it broken down into like human language, right? What am I doing here? Just printing the 2 lists, right? Basically, all I did here was simplify all this and translate it from computer to human. So now that I know how to do this, now that I've done this, This is super easy. There's no, if you can get from here to here, chances are there's nothing that I'm going to be able to ask you here that's going to be difficult for you, because all you have to do, okay, what am I doing here? Is that true? I don't know. Is it? Everything. So is that pretty much in a nutshell what's happening? B?
I mean, but you're printing words though, the actual words. So you're printing every word.
Correct. So if I minus this, that's actually true. So if I minus that, and also we could say every other word in words will be printed, right? Or no? Yeah. Every other word. And that answer is actually not B. Right? In words. Actually, that one, right? Because except the first, or no, because that's including the first. So that answer is actually C. Every other word in words will be printed, right? Do we have questions about that? So look, before you start thinking about whether or not you have questions, you're not going to see anything on any of the tests that looks like this exactly. All that we're doing here is creating this kind of a process, this logical process. Because if you have this, every single question on that test is going to be easy. Luca, what's up?
On the test, when you put every other word, would you think except both the first?
You would not see a question like this on the test. I'm not going to be that broad. Your question would be more specific. Like you'd get something like this and it'd be like, what got printed out? And you'd have to choose the one that looks like what got printed out. This is a little bit more general than I would normally be on a test. So again, right now what I want you to do is focus on process, because that's going to help you Tuesday. It's also going to help you on quiz 3, which is going to be hopefully a lot easier than previous quizzes. Okay? Let's try one more. And again, focus on the process here rather than the actual data, right? We're way more about process with this stuff than we are actual answers right now. So what am I doing here?
You're using the random library and initiating a blank array.
Creating an empty array called numbers, right? I'm importing random. What's this loop doing? Okay.
You have 5 random values.
Correct. So let's think about it in more specific terms, right? We're going 5 times with this for loop. We're starting at 0, going all the way up to 5 by 1s. Everybody understand why that's the case? Okay. Then each time the loop runs, we're going to append numbers with a random value between 1 and 100. So by the time this loop exits, meaning by the time I gets to 5, numbers should contain 5 random values from 1 to 100. So what we can essentially say now is we can take all this code and replace it with right? All we're doing there with all this code is just there to create a list called numbers and add 5 random values to it that are between 1 and 100. These are all just printing. And then what does this do? This was pretty easy because you get a hint. But let's break it down into the individual steps. We're starting with an empty string. We are looping from 0 to the length of our list called numbers, right? Why do I put this instead of just putting 5 there? What would be the advantage? Archer.
Well, if you had something that was longer, you could change it for the bug from 0 to 7 on the first formula, and then that would open it.
Correct. And so for those of you who are having a little trouble with that, an example would be this. If I just put 5 here, right? If I decided to change this to a 6, I'd have to change this to a 6 also. Right? Oops. But if I leave it at length of numbers, it's going to calculate that on the fly. It's going to assess the length of numbers once this is complete. So I can change this to 8. I can change it to 8 million. It doesn't matter because I'm going to recalculate the length here. So it's going to adjust to whatever the final size of numbers is going to be if I do it that way. What am I doing here? Simple terms. What am I doing? Somebody else besides Archer. What? Correct. So again, modulus returns the remainder of the division between the left number and the right number. I'm going through each individual value in the list numbers and I'm saying, is the current value divisible by 5? If yes, I'm going to add it to my output string, right? So this entire code, we could say that it finds all the values in numbers list that are divisible by 5 and prints them out. And really you can break this whole thing down to well, let's leave it at 2 steps for now. So creates a list of 5 random numbers, finds which ones are divisible by 5 and prints them out. Questions on that? Okay. Jot down some notes on what we just did instead of looking at your phones. Okay. Upload a picture of those notes to Google Classroom under Notes for Lesson 6. Remember this. I am going to do this 2 more times, giving you a total of 3 sets of notes for Lesson 6. You're going to turn them all in under Notes Lesson 6, and you're going to get 30 points for that, which is going to very effectively offset the terrible, terrible grade you're about to get on the 40-point test that we're going to take during finals week. And I hope that I'm kidding.